Hello everyone, Jennifer here. I have a new loom knitting lesson for you. Today we're going to make this hat. It has a ribbed brim here and then a stockinette stitch top. We will be learning 2 new stitches. Last time we did the E-wrap stitch hat, and that one had a folded up brim. This one does not. But we are going to learn how to do ribbing, which will require you to learn the purl stitch, and we'll also learn the U-wrap knit stitch. And so, just like with our other one, we're going to use this big 41 peg loom. And the one problem with this loom is 41 is an odd number. And to do this ribbing, typically you would need an even number of pegs. So to get around that, you will have your first peg and your last peg will both be knits. So you'll have 2 knits right next to each other, if you can see that. It's not super noticeable, especially if you keep that as, you know, this is at the side. You don't really see it. So with all that said, you will need some chunky 6-weight yarn. And if something weird just flashed across your screen there, don't worry about it. That was my phone having difficulties. But if it didn't, then never mind. So what we're going to do, just like with before, we're going to do the same cast on we did with our other hat, but if you didn't do that one, then we'll do it over again so that you can learn it. So you're going to make a slip knot. And again, if you've never done a slip knot before, it's pretty simple. You make a loop with your yarn, and then you just pull through like so. You can either put your slip knot here on this peg and then work like this, and then after a few rounds you will pop that off. I just typically find it easier to put that slip knot right there on the first peg. Then I don't have to worry about taking it off of here. So to do our cast on, we've got, so if you put your slip knot here, then you're just going to wrap this first peg just like this. You go around the back of it and wrap around. And then you go to your next peg, around the back. Okay, so this bar that forms, you need to make sure that's in the back. So if it ends up in front like this, then you've done it wrong, because you're going to be working on this side, not on the back side. So that needs to be on the back. And you just do that. It's easier if you try to push them down as you wrap. Then you won't have to do it afterward. But wrap it around all the way around. You may end up with your yarn getting tangled on some of these pegs. It can be annoying, but okay, I'm getting... There we go. Gosh, I got a little tangled there. Okay, and here we go. Just wrap till you get all the way back around. Okay. Okay, so I'm back around. Now, this ribbing can get confusing because you need to keep track of what stitch you've just done. So I wouldn't recommend doing this ribbing if you're in the middle of something that you're going to be having to put it down pretty often, especially if you're in the middle of a round, because you're going to be doing a knit stitch and a purl stitch. So you're going to knit, and then purl, and then knit, and then purl, and then knit, and then purl. So, and the knits we're going to be doing throughout this whole hat are the U-wrap knits. And so this is our first stitch. So keep in mind this is going to be a knit stitch, and this will also be a knit stitch. It's the only place in this hat where two knits will be together. If that bothers you, some people are kind of particular. I'm sorry. I don't really know any other way to use this loom for ribbing, because typically you are going to need an even number of stitches. Unless you wanted to do like 2 knits and then a purl, like a knit 2 purl 1 or some other kind of ribbing. I don't really think this is very noticeable, so it really doesn't bother me. So to do a U-wrap knit, you take your yarn to the front of the peg and just hold it here. You can also, if you need to knit multiple stitches, you can just hold it in front like this and knit them off. I'll show you that when we do more of the body of the hat, but we're doing just one at a time for this whole ribbing. So, and then you just pull that bottom peg over. And then our next stitch is a purl. I've even seen people put like stitch markers on all of the ones that are knits or purls. You can decide which way to do it, but for a purl stitch, okay, it's done a little different. You grab your loop from the top down like this, and then you just you put your yarn in front, and you come down with your tool and you grab that yarn and get it up through that loop. Okay, then you grab that loop, take your tool out, then you use it to get that stitch off of there, and then you put the loop back on and tighten it up, but not too much, just normal amount. You don't want it to be hard to work with later. So then we have a knit stitch. A lot of people are scared of purl and don't like to do it. It's really not that bad. What I do is I take that loop and I pull it a little bit more up toward the end so I have more room here to work with. Go from the top down. Grab that yarn. Pull it through the loop. Grab it with your fingers. You want to make sure before you take that stitch off, you want to make sure your yarn is on the right hand side, because if it's over here, well, it's just easier if you make sure your yarn's over here. You grab that loop, that way it's on the right side of the peg and ready for your next stitch. And then you put that yarn on, give it a little tighten, and then a knit stitch. And if you forget what stitch you're on, one easy way to do it, when you're on your first round, it can be hard to tell by looking. Once you get more rounds, it becomes a little easier to tell. But if you're not sure, you started with a knit, so you can go knit, purl, knit. So I know I'm now on a knit. And now we're back to purl. We're going to end up doing 10 rounds total. Oops, I got my tool stuck in there. So we're going to do 10 rounds of ribbing. I keep ending up with my work too much at the edge of the frame there. So And pull that off, put it back on, give it a tighten. And then it's a knit. And I don't know if you can hear my cat crying at me again, but he seems to know when I'm recording because he likes to sing for people. So now we're purling again. Then a knit. And then a purl. Knit. I still have quite a ways to go here before I'm all the way around. And so if you've got the hang of that, then I will, I think, just go ahead and do my ribbing. And I will leave you to yours, and I'll meet you back up here after you've done 10 rounds of this ribbing. So you're going to be making sure every round that this is a knit and this is a knit. So all of your knits are going to be stacked on top of each other, and all your purls will be stacked on top of each other. Okay? You can always rewind this part if you're having problems. But yeah, get your 10 rounds done, and I will meet you back here when you're done. All right, I'm back. You should have ribbing that looks like this, and you should be stopped right there. Okay. I just did the one round because I'm not making a whole other complete hat. And I had a comment about that from somebody that was kind of upset that that I don't do that. I guess I never really thought that that would be a problem because I am giving the full instructions on how you can make yours. I'm just not making a whole other one myself. So the hard part's done. Now it's just knit every round. Where's my sheesh? Okay. Now we're just going to be knitting every round. And we're going to be doing this U-wrap knit. So you can hold it however you think it's comfortable. Some people do this where they'll just hold the yarn over 3 or 4 pegs and then just knit over them like that, where they it's clearly not a method that I've done a lot because I'm a little awkward with it. But I've heard it can be fairly fast if you get the hang of it. Yeah, you can do that. I'm going to go back to what I'm used to doing, and that's just wrapping each peg at a time. I keep splitting that. There we go. And then move on to the next one. And this stitch you're going to be doing for 40 rounds. And again, I'm not going to do 40 rounds, but I'll meet you back here. And I'll keep demonstrating this for a little longer. But when we get to that point where I leave you to it on your own, you do your 40 rounds, and then I'll meet you back up to show you how to finish the top of your hat. You're going to finish the hat exactly like we did the other hat, but just in case you didn't watch that video, I will do it again. So I will do a few rounds. I won't do all 40. But as long as you are understanding how to do the stitches and you are following the directions on how many rounds to do, you will have a hat. It is a little hard to use this big loom. And my camera keeps losing focus, but it's kind of hard to use this big loom on camera at this desk because it's kind of clunky. Every time I go to a new peg, camera loses focus. I think it's because my fingers get too close to it. Ugh. Okay, there we go. All right, so you're just going to be doing this same stitch, this U-wrap for 40 rounds. Keep track of your rounds in whatever way you want to. If you want to just write a little mark down on a piece of paper each time you come to the end of a round, or you want to use a stitch counter or whatever. Or just use a document on your phone, whatever you want to do. But keep track, and when you've got 40 rounds, then we will get the top done. So I will see you back here when you've hit your 40 rounds. Alright guys, I'm back. I clearly did not do 40 rows. In fact, I just finished the one row I was on because I figured I would have to do quite a lot of rows. Rounds, I guess, for the next part to really cinch up so that you could really see how that works. And I don't want to make a whole other hat, but it's really not that difficult, and I don't know. Essentially, you're going to need a yarn needle. Okay, or it can be metal, plastic. It can have the little bend in it like this, but it doesn't have to. Any needle that has a big enough hole here for your yarn to go through. And what you're going to do is, I like to wrap my yarn all the way around my peg, and with my camera, it's kind of hard to show you, but pull it back here. I wrap it all the way around twice, so that I can make sure I'm cutting off enough yarn to do this part. Okay, we've gone around once, and I'm going to go around again. There we go. And then I can grab my scissors and cut the yarn there. And then I can unwrap it from the peg. I only needed to wrap it so that I have a long enough tail. So you're going to get your needle threaded with your yarn there. I keep bumping my camera. Okay. So you've got 10 rounds of ribbing and 40 rounds of the stockinette stitch. So you've got quite a bit of hat here. Okay. So you're just going to have to pretend that this is a full hat that I am casting off. And so you want to take your first stitch, get your needle up here, and we're going to pop that off of the loom. And that yarn's going to tangle a little bit. And what you want to do, my yarn's on the wrong side there. I don't know if you can see it. If I keep pulling, it's going to catch that yarn in there. I don't know if you can see that very well. And that's fine. That happens. You're going to take your needle and pull that out of there. And again, it's hooked on the loom. That's just something you need. It's going to happen. So see, now it's out of that loop and you can pull it. To avoid that going forward so that you don't have to keep doing that, keep your yarn to the left of, just hold it in your left hand. We're going to take our next peg, our next loop. Gosh, that keeps losing focus. Get your needle through there, pull it off of your peg. Oh, I did it again. Why did I do that? There we go. See, watching it through the camera, sometimes it's hard to see where things are. There we go. So you go all the way around your hat. Getting all of the loops on your needle. And then, just like with our other video, you get them all on there, and then you just cinch it up like a drawstring. Mine won't look like much. Keep that in mind, because I have like 3 rounds here. So yours, if you've got a little hat's worth of project there, yours will look like a hat when you're done. All right, so go around, get all of your loops worked off of the pegs, and I will see you back around here when you've got that done. All right, guys, I'm back. I've just gotten all of my stitches off my tiny little hat here, but you should have a nice tube that's pretty good sized. After you get all of your stitches off onto your piece of yarn, all you have to do is pull. Be patient with it. You don't want to pull too hard too fast, because you don't end up breaking your yarn. If you break your yarn, it's going to be really hard for you to secure all of those stitches. They're going to most likely end up coming off, and that would not be good. So it's all cinched up. If you have any gaps like this, you can just sew them together. And then you sew them nicely, secure it. And then I like to put it into the inside of the hat when I'm done and secure on the inside to keep that tail on the, where you won't see, close to your head. And then when you're ready to tie it off, after you've got it nice and secured, this is what I do. It probably isn't the best way to do it, but it works well for me. I pull it about halfway through, and I take my needle off. Then what I do is I grab this piece and this big loop, and I tie these together. I treat this like it's one piece of yarn. Tie it together 2 or 3 times until it's nice and tight. My yarn keeps getting stuck on that loom. I'll do one more time. And then voila, you have a hat. It is nice and secured. You can see I've got my little tails there. I do cut my tails, but I don't. It doesn't bother me to leave them a little bit because it's on the inside. So you should have a finished hat. This hat I actually only did, I think, 35 rounds, and it just wasn't quite enough. That's why I told you to do 40. So hopefully you have a finished hat, and you've had a nice time doing this lesson. Make sure to comment. Let me know how it went for you, and have a good day.